turn to those who have strategies for survival. And these will be, in fact, the two great Taoist figures of early China, Zhuangzi and Lao Tzu. Now, I want to begin by talking about, not about the Taoists, but something else that happened, which is a kind of language skepticism that emerges, a sense that language is something through which we view the world, the medium of our understanding of the world, but in the end, language is somewhat arbitrary, that there isn't a necessary connection between language and reality, but language is something that we construct and read onto reality. And I'll give you two examples of this. One is a friend of Zhuangzi, a friend of a man named Hui Shi. And in the book, the Zhuangzi, we have a number of conversations between Zhuangzi, the Taoist master, and Hui Shi. And Hui Shi is famous for his paradoxes. And let me give you two and ask you to think about what you make of them. The first paradox is that simultaneously with being at noon, the sun declines. Simultaneously with being alive, a thing dies. So that's a paradox that has to do with the way we divide time. And the second paradox is the East is the center of the world. The West is the center of the world. And that's a paradox that has to do with how we divide space. So I leave it to you to talk a little bit about what you make of these. The way I would read Hui Shi's is that we can divide time, but we can keep dividing. It's infinitely divisible. And yet there must be some moment at which something that's rising is also falling. And how is that possible? Right? The way we divide time is something that obscures that moment, and similarly that we divide space, we say this is the center. But if space is infinite, then every place is the center. There is no one center. So he takes what we regard as normal divisions of time and space and says there are ways of seeing these as problematic. But he has a purpose to this, apparently. His purpose is to try to say, since everything is divisible, everything is infinite, there's no one right place, no one right moment, no one center, that in fact you ought to see the world as one. Everything, heaven and earth and the myriad things, are all one thing. And you should love everything inclusively. It's very much a moral sort of conclusion. The other sort of language issue that I think is really quite interesting from this period comes from, oh, by the way, these books I'm looking at are from a collection, a 19th century collection of the books of the many masters. And this is from a text by Gongsun Lun, a master Gongsun Lun. Bai ma, fei ma, ke hu, yue ke. Or in English, a white horse is not a horse. Is that possible? Yes, it is. And so that's his proposition. A white horse is not a horse. I think we could turn this around in a slightly different way and say, why do you think a white horse is a horse? And you are now free to defend the proposition, which is wrong, that a white horse is a horse. And in a moment, I'll come back and convince you that, in fact, a white horse is not a horse. So why did you think a white horse was a horse? I would suspect that for many of you, a white horse is a horse because you think that a white horse is a member of a set or a category of things called horses. Gongsun is fully aware that a white horse is a horse in the sense that we have sets and members of sets and things like this. But he proposes, as he works on, that we actually can understand one way in which a white horse is not a horse. That is, if we take white as a color, and let's give a color the value 1, and horse as a shape, and let's give that the value 2. To say a white horse is a horse is to say 1 plus 2 is 2, which is not possible. A white horse is not a horse. It's a small example, but he's getting at the way in which we use language to make certain statements about the world without being fully aware of what we're saying. He has another essay, which is, to kill a robber is not to kill a man, but I won't go into that.